Paris is one of those cities where food is part of the whole experience. You've got the high-end dining, the centuries-old bistros, trendy wine bars, and little hidden gems where you can eat like a local. In this video, I'm going to share my honest opinion about the restaurants we tried on our recent trip to Paris, what we loved, what we wouldn't go back to, and a few tips about booking, because some of these spots can be tricky to get into. Hopefully this gives you some ideas and maybe saves you from a few disappointments too. The first place I want to mention is Bouillon République. Now there are a few bouillon restaurants in Paris and they're all known for being traditional, budget-friendly and super popular, and I think they're as famous as the l'entrecôte. It honestly feels like the prices haven't changed in decades. The catch is it's really difficult to get a reservation. I booked online about 3 to 4 weeks in advance, and if you get put on the waiting list, don't count on actually getting a spot. Once you're in, the vibe is cramped. You're elbow to elbow with strangers, overhearing conversations, and it feels more like a canteen than a restaurant. We tried the escargot, which at 6 or 7 euros was probably the highlight, and a steak frites, plus a bottle of wine. The bill was only about 30 euros, which is amazing value. But honestly, the atmosphere and food just didn't do it for me. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Now on to the opposite experience. Chez Janou in Le Marais. This was probably our favourite meal of the trip. It's one of those classic Parisian bistros with a buzzing reputation, so we were lucky to get an outdoor table. Inside looked really chic and full of atmosphere, but maybe a little bit chaotic. We were perfectly happy sitting in the sun outside. We ordered mussels gratin, a crayfish and avocado salad, and of course steak and chips. We also ordered this other dish which was almost like chickpea flour chips. Everything was cooked to perfection, but the mussels in particular were a standout. For dessert, they're famous for their chocolate mousse. Our waitress literally left us a giant serving bowl at the table instead of scooping a portion, which was both hilarious and slightly alarming. Everyone around us was laughing because we just went for it. Chez Janou is a gem and I'd recommend it to anyone. I also want to quickly mention l'entrecôte, as I mentioned before. It's a famous restaurant in Paris that only serves steak frites. I'll be honest, I've never actually eaten here, but I have queued for it twice. And both times I gave up after about 5 minutes because the line is just so long. Now don't get me wrong, I really like steak fries, but I'm more than happy to pay for a good version of it. But every time I look at that queue, it's just tourists, and in my head that sets off alarm bells. I imagine the vibe inside being just touristy, a bit loud, maybe even tense because people have been waiting outside for over an hour. It just doesn't appeal. For me, there are so many better places in Paris where you can have an amazing steak without standing in line forever. So unless you're super curious or it's on your Paris bucket list, I'd say skip it and save that time for something else. Next, we also tried a couple of Italian restaurants. I know, eating Italian in Paris might sound strange, but both were incredible. The first was Carboni's. This place is on the pricier side, with everything from octopus to lamb mince pasta. The lamb dish especially had this subtle Turkish influence that made it quite unique. We also discovered our new favourite natural orange wine here called Pepin, which paired perfectly with everything. Service was great and overall it felt refined but still friendly. Then there's Fellows. We've actually been here twice now in Paris and it's become a go-to. It's tiny, always busy, and you have to queue outside, but the payoff is worth it. The pasta dishes here are just as good as Carboni's, maybe a little bit smaller, but the prices are unbeatable. Some pastas are only 9 euros, which feels like a steal. It's more casual and a bit cramped in the evenings, but for lunch it's perfect. I'd rate both Carboni's and Fellows a solid 8 out of 10. Now back to French cuisine. We tried a restaurant called Poulette for dinner, and contrary to the name, it doesn't serve chicken, but it does have a lot of good reviews online. We had a starter, which was this grilled leek, and for the mains, yet another steak frites. Clearly we were testing a lot of steaks on this trip. The best thing about Poulette is actually the setting. The tiled mural on the wall is gorgeous, the bar looks beautiful, and the whole place has this modern French charm without being overpriced. It's a nice option if you want something a little more elevated without blowing the budget. Now finally, no trip to Paris is complete without a crêpe. Our favourite is this hole-in-the-wall place near Gare du Nord. There are a few creperies in that area, but this one stands out as they're so generous with the Nutella. They'll even pack it up in a good takeaway box. After a meal or on the way home, nothing hits quite like it. So those were the 5 main places we ate at in Paris. Overall, I was pretty organised with reservations, but if I'd learned anything, it's that some of the best experiences come from the smaller, local spots that don't need to be booked a month in advance. Paris really is a dream for food lovers, and I can't wait to go back and discover even more recommendations. If you've got a favourite restaurant in Paris, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to add it to our list for next time. Thanks for watching and see you next time.